All right. A very good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon again. Right, I welcome you to this session, CAT 2023 VARC Preparation Strategy. I am Nikita, and today we are going to talk about how to prepare for VARC, what to prepare for, from when to start preparing, what to prepare when. Okay, all these questions I'm going to answer today. All right, so I already have a question in the chat box. Let's address this. Uh, I will address the online offline reading issue, music core, and I'll also suggest a few sources. Just wait for a couple of seconds, okay? Let me just go to those slides. Hi, Harshad. I hope all of you are doing well. Right. So, first of all, let's establish what do you have to prepare for? What is the syllabus, so to say? Right? Students ask this. There are four broad areas that we cover in verbal ability and reading comprehension. Right? Reading comprehension passages, of course. Even if you've just had a look at the pattern of CAT, you would know how important RC passages are. They form two-thirds of your paper, isn't it? So, two-thirds of your VRC section is RC passages. You have to focus on them. Verbal logic. When I say verbal logic, what I mean is critical reasoning, okay, para jumbles, para summary, all of that comes here itself. Okay, and some miscellaneous short questions as well. Para jumbles, para summary, all of that comes here. Vocabulary and grammar. Now, some of you must be wondering, oh, I am just preparing for CAT, so I don't really need to prepare for vocabulary and grammar. That's a misconception that students have. If you do not know some high frequency vocabulary words, some common vocabulary words that are used often, then you will find it difficult to navigate through your RC passages, through your para summary questions, through your para jumbles. You will find it difficult. So you need to know some commonly used vocabulary words. Okay, you need to learn some high frequency vocabulary words even if you are just preparing for CAT. Okay, similarly, students preparing for CAT think that because vocabulary and grammar questions are not asked directly in CAT, oh, I am safe, I do not need to prepare for grammar. See, I understand that directly no grammar questions are going to be asked. However, after CAT, you are going to write, I mean, you are going to go to stage two, where you have to write essays, right? There is something called WAT, writing ability test, which is a part of your stage two. In case your grammar basics are not in place, how are you going to write a coherent essay? Yes, correct. Grammar is very important when it comes to speaking, writing, and not just really reading. Okay, so even grammar becomes important for you. And anybody who's preparing for even one non-CAT exam, in addition to CAT, has to go through both these areas, has to become well versed with both these areas because vocabulary and grammar questions are asked in every other non-CAT exam. Okay, so these are the four areas that are important for you when it comes to VARC. I'm sure you know this by now. Yes? Okay. Now, what about CAT VARC specifically? So, even for CAT VARC, as I just told you, the areas remain the same. Do not think that you can ignore these two aspects. Why am I laying emphasis on this? Because right now we are at that time of the year. We are actually in the in the beginning of 2023. We're about to reach 2023. This is the time when you hone your vocabulary and grammar, right? Prepare for it right from the beginning. And in fact, if you pay attention to grammar at least right now, no, then you will be sorted for the rest of the year. So that's why I'm paying so much attention to it. Right? Okay. So let's have a look at the pattern so that we get an idea as to the weightage of various topics, how important they are considering the current CAT VRC pattern. In 2022, you had questions from four areas in VARC: reading comprehension, which formed two-thirds of your VARC section. The other eight, the other one-third was verbal ability. And in this verbal ability, this was the only question type which did not carry any negative marking. Others had a negative, +3, -1, +3, -1, +3, -1. Here there was a +3, 0, right? Why? There is a reason for it. These were type in the answer. Type in the answer. which means that you had to type the sequence yourself. No options were given to you. And that's why there is no negative marking here in these three questions. The others carried options and had negative marking. Para jumbles, para summary, para completion, all related to paragraphs. So see the emphasis that CAT lays on reading. Everything here is about reading. This was a new question type, a different question type that was asked. Okay, it was a deviation from the past years where earlier we used to have odd sentence out para jumbles, wherein five sentences are given to you, four of them belong to the paragraph, one of them does not. You just have to spot that one. Okay, so this was a deviation. This was a, I can't call it deviation, maybe it appears next year as well. So this was a different question type, right? Um, okay, so these are your four areas, and you have realized by now the importance of reading. I don't need to really specify it. You have to attempt these 24 questions in 40 minutes. Knowing the framework in which you have to operate is very important when you start preparing for any exam, because if I don't know what all comes in, how much time am I supposed to do it, right, then how will I prepare effectively? Then I'm just shooting in the dark, isn't it? So this is your marking scheme, this is your time limit, these are the number of questions, and these are the areas that you have to broadly prepare for when it comes to CAT. Okay, the question types. Okay, then. What should be our focus for CAT 2023? Now I'm going to talk to you about sources, offline, online reading, all of those things. Right? The focus for CAT 2023 should be on reading. Okay, definitely. You have realized that your paper is all about reading when it comes to CAT. And of course, see, you don't just have to become good readers, you also have to become good solvers, because ultimately you have to solve questions based on those RC passages. So, just reading without, let's say, solving tests, without taking tests, is not going to suffice. So, your focus should be on both these aspects. Right now, it should be more on this. Later on, it will be a combination of these two, right? So, right now, this is the time, these, let's say January to March, these should be the months where you build a reading habit, where you build your RC concepts, right? So, it's the building stage that we are currently looking at. Okay. So, now comes the question what to read, which is something that you have been curious about. Let's have a look at the genres, the broad areas. Genres mean the broad areas from which CAT 22 RC passages were asked. Right. So there were 12 RC passages in all across three slots. I analyzed them and I found out what are the genres of those passages. Culture and religion. Okay, so there was in fact one RC passage that talked about both culture as well as religion. Philosophy, there were two RCs on philosophy. History, right? So history was sprinkled here and there in a number of RCs. Anthropology, there was a specific passage that talked about anthropology and sociology. Science, particularly, in the recent years, we've seen a lot of passages on animal behavior, evolution. So that's why I've written zoology specifically. Okay, biology, zoology specifically, I've written because we've seen passages that talk about behavior of penguins, that talk about behavior of elephants, cuttlefish. This year it was about octopuses. So, behavior of different animals, organisms. Right. So, you need to read all these types of articles, as in articles on all these types of genres. Technology also, there was this passage about softwares, sociology as well. So these are the broad genres that came last year. It's not that this is an exhaustive list, nothing else can come. It's just that I'm trying to show how diverse your genres are. Okay, how you have to become what we call an eclectic reader, isn't it? You have to become a diverse reader if you want to ace CAT. CAT does not care about whether you are from the science stream, from the commerce stream, from the humanities stream. It does not care about that. It just asks the passages that it wants to ask. So you have to become an eclectic reader. You do not have a choice in that. Okay, so what should you read exactly? See, if I have to just sum up those genres that I just showed you, I can actually put them in these broad three areas: humanities and social sciences. This includes all of these areas such as sociology, anthropology, psychology, right? Then history, all of these come here. So you have to be well versed with such articles. In fact, more and more of your articles are becoming very interdisciplinary in nature. Interdisciplinary in nature. What do I mean by that? To give you an example, in slot 2 in CAT 2022, there was this passage called Humans Make Music. Humans Make Music. This is what it dealt with. So it talked about how every human being out there is making music. Okay, it gave a very broad definition of what it means by making music, and by those standards it said that every human being out there is making music. Anybody who can dance, anybody who can understand music is making music, as per its logic. So see, it's about human beings, right? It talked about how the early human beings, what kind of sounds they used to make. So it comes under the category of anthropology. It is about music. So, music is a part of our culture. So, it also deals with culture in a way. And it talked about how early human beings, the kind of how music evolved. So, it has also to do with history. Right. So this is how our articles are becoming more and more interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary in nature, right? And that is why we have to be eclectic readers. At least these three broad genres everybody should read. Okay. And here, mind you, I'm including philosophy also, psychology also. Right. Want to emphasize that. Science and technology, I've just stated that you have been getting passages on that. Business and commerce specifically was absent last year, as in CAT 2022, but you have got an ample number of business and commerce RCs also in the past. For instance, last to last year, there was, as in CAT 2021, had one on the trade of tea. Now, again, it talked about tea trade and it also traced its history. So, it's history and commerce, both. History and commerce, both. Right? So, music core, it is likely, yes, it's likely a permanent change, right? However, of course, it also depends from institute to institute, which institute is conducting it, that has the liberty to make changes. So, since the pandemic, it has been of 2 hours. We expect it to remain of 2 hours. However, of course, we can never be sure about these things as it is the discretion of the institute as well, right? Okay. Now, from where are these passages taken? Okay, from where does the examiner pick up these passages? So, if you again analyze your last 7 8 year papers since 2015 to 2021, 2015 and 16 are not available in the public domain. But if you analyze them broadly, you will realize that they have been articles from what kind of magazines? Global magazines, not Indian magazines, so to say, but magazines that are of international stature. Magazines like Economist, right? Magazines like e-magazines, if I talk about eon.co. Magazines like The Atlantic. Okay, so international magazines. Excerpts refer to basically extracts, parts. Okay, a part taken from a book, right? So you've got passages from popular books also and some very esoteric books also. Popular books such as Sapiens. Sapiens is a highly popular book. Then On Writing by Stephen King. These are very popular books. But you've got articles from equally esoteric books also. Esoteric means understood only by a few. Right. So such books also. For instance, there was something, The Sacred Gaze. There was a book from which a passage came. So you've got both these kinds of passages. Right. Popular books, from not so popular books. Okay. International newspaper editorials. Now, see, again, I've specified this: international newspapers, The Guardian, the NYT. Okay. In analyzing previous year CAT and XAT papers, I found just one or two XAT papers where you had one article from the Hindu ones and one from the TOI ones. Apart from that, I did not see any Indian newspaper editorial or article forming your RC passage. It's all international, right? So, this sort of an analysis helps you to understand from where you should read. What are some of the free sources from where you can read? Okay, I'll specify that also as we go to the next slide. But this should be clear to you that your sources are international. These writers who write them are, global writers, global journalists. The issues that they talk about are global issues. So we have to prepare with that mindset. We have to prepare accordingly. Right? Hope this helps. Okay, then. And lately, I want to emphasize this that lately there has been this trend that you've been getting more RC passages, as in a higher number, not the majority, but in a higher number from book excerpts. And there has also been this trend to move away from, let's say, magazines. मूव अवे का मतलब ये नहीं है कि बिल्कुल ही नहीं आ रहा है बट और भी चीजें देने लग गए हैं फॉर इंस्टेंस फ्रॉम university websites. Let's say they picked up an article. Once they picked up an article from MIT's website and they included it. I mean, they formed an RC out of it. Then I saw this really not so popular magazine, something related to art, from which a passage came this year in CAT 22. So there has also been this trend to try to find new sources, novel books, right? New books, I mean books that are not so popular and websites that a student would usually not visit, right? So you would not visit MIT's website often. So that has been the trend lately. Okay. So some popular sources, I'll also tell you which of these are free, which of these are not. Eon is free. NYT and Guardian just provide you 2 free articles per month, right? Smithsonian Mag is free. Okay. Then some other free sources. There is this website called Arts and Letters Daily that curates articles from a number of websites. Curates articles from a number of websites. Some of these are free, some of these aren't. But you'll find ample material to read here. Right, so you can refer to this. Then websites such as Scientific American is free. Then The Scientist, New Scientist, if you want to read science and tech articles, these are also free. Okay. Another one, if you want to read philosophy and literature articles, is a blog called The Margin Alien. I personally really like it. That's why I'm recommending it to you. The Margin Alien. So on the Margin Alien, on Eon, on Arts and Letters Daily, you will find ample number of humanities and social sciences plus philosophy passages. Eon also has this branch, so to say, okay, another e-magazine within it called psyche.co. There you will find psychology articles, right? For politics, uh, Economist also provides you a certain number of free articles. Certain number of free articles. So there is this section that it has, the world this week, a very interesting section which gives you a brief of what all major developments have happened in the world during the week, okay, in very short pieces of news. So that is something that you can refer to, right? So bbc.com, free of charge, you can visit it. And of course, non-fiction books you can always read, right? I'll also give you some suggestions here. But before I give you these suggestions, because it's called a 300-day strategy session, let's have a look at it in a calendrical manner, how you can schedule your preparation, right? As I told you right in the beginning, that in the first 3 months, in these first 3 months, focus on building. Building what? A reading habit. Read every single day. I'll also tell you how. Then building your RC and VA concepts. Students tend to think that, oh, this is English. What is the, there's no concept to English. That's what they tend to think. So you are wrong on both accounts. VARC is more about logic. It's equally about logic, okay? It's not just language. You may be very good at English in school, but you may still struggle at VARC, and vice versa. Then, second thing is that there are specific concepts, specific approaches to various question types. How do you approach a main idea question? How do you approach an inference question? And these concepts take time, okay? You take time to learn them. So, right now, focus on building those concepts. Attend the sessions, attend various sessions regularly, learn these concepts, right? Practice from, let's say, a couple of tests. So, let's say, take you practice 2 RCs per week. So by practicing those 2 RCs, you'll realize where you stand currently, what is it that you're facing a problem in, any particular genre that is posing a problem for you, and accordingly you can fix that problem. Right. So focus on building at this stage, building a reading habit, building your RC and VA concepts. Right. Okay. And I think a couple of tests or a couple of RCs and some VA questions per week should suffice. So, the focus is just to get to know where you stand right now. So, sort of diagnostic tests, diagnose where you are right now. Okay. Then, when we come to April, May, June, July, this is the time when, again, in addition to building, because you've already built a lot in these 3 months. So, in addition to building, now you'll start executing. Now you'll start taking tests. You'll start taking topic tests, right? You'll start taking sectional tests. You will start taking mocks as well. Okay, so through this test taking, you'll realize your strengths and weaknesses. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You will work on building your strengths even more, becoming better at them. You'll work to the extent that okay, those areas that are my weakness, can I overcome them? If yes, by all means you'll do that, right? So let's say मेरा main idea question हमेशा गलत हो जाता है. So can I overcome that problem? हाँ, I will work on it in these 4 months. Then I'll also see that I reach at least this level that if an easy question comes, an easy main idea question comes, by easy I mean easy options, at least then I should get it right. I have to reach at least that level when it comes to my weaknesses. So this is the area when you start executing, when you realize what is working for you, what mock strategy works for you, what doesn't, and you advance in your prep. Okay, accordingly you advance in your prep, accordingly you correct whatever needs to be fixed. And August to November is the time when you have advanced in taking mocks also. So now you build a strategy for the exam. Should I attempt RC first? Should I attempt VA first? What should I do? How to prioritize passages? So these are the broad things that you focus on when it comes to these months. You hone, you strategize. Right? A very good strategy, to be consistent with your preparation is yes, to have a calendar with you, a monthly calendar with you, and mark specific days when you're going to do specific things. For instance, when we come to this period of time particularly, I ask students to mark in their calendar when all they are going to take mocks, and then stick to those appointments. Look at them as appointments they make with themselves, and then stick to those appointments so that they are regular with mock taking, regular with test taking. Right. So this is how you prepare. Have a calendar with you and pay attention to these things. Okay. What should you do every single day? Because VARC is about consistency. Okay. If you're not consistent, if you think that I'll study in the last 2 months and I'll devote the entire last 2 months to, let's say, English only, then also you'll not become as good at it as you will become by being regular with it right from now. Okay. These are cumulative efforts that add up. So one thing that you can do, okay, this is just my suggestion, okay, and something that works for me. Start your day with reading. Some students, they like to read something philosophical, positive in the morning, so you can do that as well. Some students want to know what is happening in the world. They go with current affairs, they go with the newspapers in the morning. Again, do either. Okay, it does not make a difference, but you have to read newspapers or magazines, whatever. Right. So This should happen for at least 30-40 minutes in the morning. Okay, 40 minutes in the morning. Why the specific focus on 40 minutes? Because in your exam, you have to read for 40 minutes at a stretch. So just building that habit, building that stamina right from the beginning. Then finish your day with reading. So before sleeping, you can consider reading a novel if that works for you, a non-fiction book if you like non-fiction more, right? Or you can reverse this order also. So whatever works for you. For me, this works in the morning and usually this works at night, right? So this is what I go with. And sometimes I read non-fiction also, of course. So whatever works for you, you go with that. But the idea is that we have to build a reading habit, consistent reading, reading, for 40 minutes at a stretch without interruptions. That's what we have to do. And this reading should not happen, let's say, um, what I mean is that, okay, when you're reading for these 40 minutes, it should not be leisurely reading, right? कि बहुत आराम आराम से पढ़ रहे हैं, दो आर्टिकल्स पढ़े हैं 40 minutes में. That's not going to help you. It has to be target based reading. You have to be focused in this time. I think you also understand this. That let's say you are able to read 10 pages comfortably in 40 minutes. So fine. On the first day, find out how much you're able to read comfortably. On the second day, try to push yourself a little. If not on the second day, at least on the third, fourth day, try to push yourself a little. Maybe give yourself a target of 11 pages. This is how you have to read. Target based, focused, and reading at a stretch. All right. I don't think that, Sadanand. See, if, of course, this decision is a product of multiple factors, but considering that, again, we are in a situation where COVID has been increasing in various countries, right? So I think it would be better that they conduct it in three slots and of 2 hours, making it of a shorter duration and having more slots. That makes more sense in such a scenario. So that's my opinion. You wanted it, but of course, we never know. I can't be sure about it, right? Then one important thing is that students are so focused on, let's say, just preparing for RC passages that they forget the other areas. And don't do that, because when you prepare for vocabulary, no, it indirectly helps you with your reading also. A lot of students come to me and tell me that, समझ नहीं आ रहा, हम read तो कर रहे हैं, हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा, हमें words ही समझ नहीं आते. So why does that happen? Because of weak vocabulary. So if you work on your vocabulary for 15 to 20 minutes every day, then trust me, you will automatically improve here as well. How to do this? The best and simplest way is pick up a vocabulary book. And so WordPad Made Easy has these chapters, right? Each chapter lasts about 15 minutes and it will add about 15 words at least to your vocabulary. So that's a very great way to learn it. And you'll add about 1200, 1300 words at least in 1.5 months. Sorry, not in 1.5 minutes. I'm not a magician. So in 1.5 months, you'll add about these number of words, which is a good gain. After this, once you're done with this, you can go with various vocab quizzes that are available online. There are a lot of apps that are available online, so you can play those quizzes. A very interesting thing. You can play with opponents also in some apps, right? So one app that I like is Vocabulary Builder. You can consider that. So take out time for vocabulary. It helps you with your reading, okay? In case you know the meaning of words such as, let's say, obstreperous, okay, uh, vociferous, a related word that comes to my mind. So एग्जाम में फिर ये नहीं सोचना पड़ेगा अरे ये क्या वर्ड्स हैं, इनका क्या मीनिंग है, राइट? एग्जाम में आप स्मूथली सेल कर पाओगे आरसीज में, राइट? So what do you think? What are the meanings of these words? Vociferous, obstreperous? Tell me. Chaitanya, are you an engineer? Are you GEM? General Engineer Male? Yes. Obstreperous, vociferous किसी को नहीं पता? Okay. Vociferous. See, it has voice. Okay, vox is actually the vocere, in fact, to be very precise with you. That's the root here. Vocere means voice, to speak. Okay, ferrous, fair means to bear. So when, let's say, let's say there are vociferous protests to some proposal that has been made. So they are very noisy protests. You speak out loudly. Okay, noisy, chaotic. That is vociferous. Obstreperous. If I call some children obstreperous, yes, obstreperous children. Is that a compliment? No. Again, I mean that they are pretty noisy, very difficult to control, very unruly children, right? That's what I mean. So, similar words, noisy, chaotic. Okay, similar words. All right. This has more to do with their behavior. This has more to do with the loudness. The focus here is more on the loudness, right? So now how do I know this? Again, I think I read them in WordPad Made Easy only some years back. That's how I remember them. So when you go through a book, when you engage with that book, WordPad Made Easy makes you write also, makes you speak those words also, and then you start using them. You remember them for a long, long period of time, right? So this is what you have to do. In case you're preparing for non-CAT exams also, and in case you want to have your grammar basics in place, then trust me, this is the time. Don't leave it for the end. जब non-CAT exams आएंगे तब करेंगे. No. Okay. At that point, you'll be really worried about quant and DILR also. So right now, just go through Wren and Martin. You just have to go through the grammar and composition part, right? Not the writing part that is there in the book. And if you do it regularly, you will be able to very comfortably attempt not just go through not just the chapters, but also the questions at the back. So just get done with it. It contains some very basic things that all of you should know, even if you're not taking any grammar exam, right? Any grammar based exam. So get these two things sorted right in the beginning. That will be the advantage, okay, of your actually attending this session. Okay. So these are the things that you should do every day at least in these 3 months, okay, and then you'll build a reading habit after the 3 months. You'll automatically continue with it, all right? It will become like brushing for you if you stick to it for these 3 months. How to improve writing? That's an interesting question, Tamim, and something that is relevant for all of you, considering that your stage 2 is a writing ability test. So one thing that you can do for writing, first of all, reading is a precursor to it, because I need to have the knowledge. I need to have some points in my head to actually write about when it comes to a topic. So that knowledge comes from reading. So first is read a lot. Okay, so that tomorrow if I ask you about the Taliban and its educational policy, you have that background of what Taliban is, okay, what has it been doing for these years, what are its ideologies, okay, and what is the current scenario. So reading helps you to build a background. Second thing that you have to do is you have to start writing on, let's say, simple topics initially. So, you can start with something as basic as just describing your room, right? You'll be surprised that while we think we know a lot about our room, we notice a lot of things in it. When we actually sit to write, sometimes we are at a loss for words. And that shows us that, okay, we need to practice, we need to really organize our thoughts, we need to think about the pointers first, right? Think about some points first, and then actually build them, organize them into coherent paragraphs. So, read, okay, start writing on simple topics, okay. And one thing, when you read, no, then think about that topic from various angles. That gives you a lot of fodder for writing when you actually sit to write. For instance, you read a news item. Think of it from various, this angle. Like a pestle approach is a very common way to generate points to write. Think of it from a political angle, economic, social, technological, okay, environmental, and legal angle. So, PESTEL framework is one framework. Key stakeholders framework is another framework. Think of the key stakeholders involved in it. So let's say the Taliban's decision to ban primary education. Who are the key stakeholders involved in it? Okay, of course, the women of Afghanistan, the Taliban authorities are involved in it. Then schools, colleges, they are involved in it. Think of how all of these will be affected, right? So again, that makes your view more well-rounded and gives you a lot of fodder when you actually sit to write, right? So uh, reading, analyzing, okay, generating points through various frameworks, thinking of your stance right in advance, and then actually organizing your thoughts. You become better at writing by writing. There are there are no doubts about it. Okay. So I hope this helps you and you can start writing on simple topics. There are various websites that give you topics that are relevant also and that can form a part of your WATs. You can Google what all kinds of really sorry. You can Google what all kinds of topics you've been questioned on in the past by various IIMs or non-IIMs, and accordingly you can also start writing on those topics. Right? Okay, hope this helps. All right. Book suggestions, okay, giving you some book suggestions because students always ask me कि कुछ books भी suggest कर दो. So instead of my thinking on the spot, I just uh, made a list of some of the books that I like. Okay, of course you can read other books also. This is not an exhaustive list, but just to get you started, *Sapiens* is a very interesting book. *Homo Deus* is its sequel, right? It talks about science, anthropology, history. Power of Habit, again, a very impressive book. In fact, because you're trying to build a habit, you will benefit by reading it, provided you implement it. Sophie's World, anybody who does not like philosophy and still wants to understand it, know more about it, considering that in CAT you had two passages on philosophy. One was a very clear-cut passage about Stoicism, which is a very well-established philosophy. Then you can go for this book. The good thing is it's a mix of fiction and non-fiction, right? So basically within the book, a teacher is teaching philosophy to a 15-year-old girl. That's the premise. So that's what makes it relatively interesting. Boring nahi lagti itni, right? So go for it. India After Gandhi is about Indian history, a very, it gave me a lot of knowledge. That's why suggesting it to you. And this is a beautiful, beautiful book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Psychology and part philosophy because it's his philosophy. So these are some books that you can begin with. Harsha, the good question again. ZAT See, that has two sections that come under the ambit of English that I consider to be under the ambit of English. One is the VALR section and the other is the decision making section. Let's first talk about VALR. So in VALR, in addition to RC passages, that also asks some vocab and grammar questions, about 5 questions, right? And a number of critical reasoning questions. So you have to become well versed with critical reasoning for that. Now, CAT has also, lately there has been this trend that as part of its RC passages, it is also asking a lot of critical reasoning questions. So that preparation will be done here, right? Um, However, I still feel that RC passages are slightly of a different kind. There are more of further application questions. They make you think more. You have to eliminate very rigorously there because at first glance you will feel that सारे सही हैं, right? So that does require a bit of special preparation from previous year papers, and you have to take a mock series and take at least 10 to 12 mocks, right? So सारे previous year papers plus 10 to 12 mocks that will be required. As far as if you are preparing for vocabulary and grammar here, if you are preparing for RCs here, your basic preparation is done. Basics आपके CAT prep में ही हो जाएंगे, right? But थोड़ा सा extra preparation will be required. Okay. Now, some fiction book suggestions, right? Again, these are the books that I liked. You can read something else also. Why I wrote this in brackets is students think that reading fiction is useless when it comes to CAT because CAT does not ask you excerpts from fiction books. However, trust me, even they expose you to various genres. So, in case you are someone who does not like reading non-fiction right now, you can begin with fiction. And gradually, when you fall in love with reading in a general manner, Then you can branch out to non-fiction. You always have that choice. Okay, start reading something that you like. तभी interest बनेगा. अगर शुरू से कुछ boring पढ़ोगे तब नहीं बनेगा. Okay, so these are some that I like. You can have a look. Okay, and start reading. Okay, now yes, because the session's title was the Untold Tricks. Okay, so I thought to include some hacks, some things that are slightly different from what we, usually you have to go for. These are the basics. What I've told you so far, these are the basics, right? Anybody who's preparing for CAT has to go through these basics. Now, what are some of the I don't like the term tricks hacks, but ठीक है. कुछ ऐसी चीजें जो आपको help करेंगी. Read online as much as you can. Okay, because your paper is online. There is a certain amount of fatigue that happens when you read online at a stretch. You have to get used to it. Okay, so that you don't get fatigued on the exam day. Particularly for an exam like ZAT, you have to sit for so long, right? You need to have that kind of stamina to stare at a screen for such a long time. Watch a web series in a language that you do not know. Okay. Why am I saying this? How will this help? We're not learning some other languages, right? Because then you'll read the subtitles. So you will be forced to read, right? You will be forced to read English at the end, right? So you can start watching some web series in a language that you do not know. Of course, watching English web series also helps tremendously. Uh, Provided they are good web series, it helps tremendously in building your vocab. Like Schitt's Creek. Okay, so there Moira Rose's vocabulary is just something else, right? She speaks a very good level of vocabulary. That's shown to be one of her eccentricities. So that's one series that you can watch. Then Young Sheldon also uses a decent vocabulary. That's also something that you can consider. So yes, watch web series. Fun करते करते भी आप सीख सकते हो. Yes, music core. Your strategy for CAT and IFT has to be different because, see, in CAT, uh, the RC passages are 500 to 550 words. That it has been pretty standard for the past 6 7 years. But in IFT, you can get lengthier RCs also. That's one thing. Then in CAT, you know that you're going to have more of inferential questions. In IFT, it's mixed. Okay, sometimes you have more of direct questions, sometimes it's a mix of direct and inferential questions. So you can capitalize on the direct ones. Right. Also in IFT, time is a big constraint. So you have to be speedy like anything. While time is a constraint in CAT also, उतना बड़ा constraint नहीं है जितना IFT में होता है. So yes, your approaches for the two exams for RCs and here you have a lot of vocab and grammar. So this year 19 questions were from vocab and grammar out of 35. Here you do not have it at all. So accordingly, आपका time management, आपका preparation, everything differs, right? You'll have to practice IFT previous year papers. You'll have to take IFT mocks separately. Okay, and focus more on managing your time. Okay. Then yes, this is very interesting. Something that I learned from my students only, right? So these students, they face challenge with para jumbles. Okay. So what one of the students told me was that this is something that he started doing. He would start reading an article from the middle, not from the beginning, not from the end, and then he would try to anticipate what must have come before this and what will come after this. He told me that indirectly that made him better at parajumbles because he was able to anticipate which sentence comes first, which sentence comes later. So he said that it improved his comprehension. एक तो comprehension improve हुआ because जब मैं middle से read करती हूँ मुझे ज़्यादा concentration चाहिए. I need a higher power of interpretation to actually find out what is happening. So more concentration, more a higher order comprehension, and this anticipation also, what comes before, what comes later, which helps you indirectly here as well. So try this. I think you can try this with some articles. See if it is working for you. See if your anticipation increases. If it does, that means your comprehension is also going up and it will help you for your parajumbles also. Like and follow relevant pages on Instagram and Facebook. So, see, we spend a considerable amount of time on Insta and Facebook. And I'm not the kind of teacher who will tell you go off Instagram or just delete your Facebook account. No. Instead, one thing that we can do is just like and follow relevant pages there. So I follow the NYT, the Guardian, because anyway their articles are not free. So I just read the snippets that I get from Instagram, Facebook. Whatever snippets I can read for free, I do that. The Atlantic also I have followed. Smithsonian Mag I have followed. So follow these pages, right? Use social media to your advantage, right? And that will help you. It will tilt you more towards reading. जब वो बार बार आपके सामने आएगा. Engage with it. Engage with this content, right? Otherwise, if you don't engage with it, it will stop appearing on your feeds. Lastly, this is very general and you may decide it for yourself. Um, whether this works for you or not, something that works for me, at least in building a stamina and building concentration. Okay, when you meditate, you have to sit for some time, okay, at one place. So it builds that sitting stamina, right? Where you are not distracted, where you are not agitated to do something, where you're not looking at multiple tabs. So that helps. And also in concentration, it improves your concentration if you do it for a sustained period. So I think January, February, March में आप इतनी सारी new चीजें try कर रहे हो. See if you can incorporate it. Maybe once a week, then maybe twice a week, you can gradually increase it. Mindfulness, being aware of what you are doing during the day, being aware of your body, being aware of your surroundings. This helps students particularly if they are facing chronic concentration issues, जो पढ़ते पढ़ते बिल्कुल lost हो जाते हैं. So if you are mindful about what you are doing during the day, let's say when you're reading also and your concentration veers away, after a while you ask yourself the question, okay, what am I doing right now? And you come back to it, right? So uh, maybe they'll help you as well. Ideally, कितना time read करना चाहिए? As much as you can, but I think if you read for 1 hour every day, that is the minimum, considering that, you know, two-third of your VRC section in CAT is reading. So 1 hour, I think minimum. मैंने तो 40 minutes बताया, 40 minutes in the morning and 40 minutes at night, right? That is something that I try to do for myself, and that's why I have suggested this to you as well, right? Easy and short passages for building a reading habit. Easy and short passages you'll not get. RC passages ready-made nahi milenge aise, right? Um, for, let's say, if you want to, you're a beginner in terms of reading and you want to build a reading habit, um, you can start with the Hindustan Times. In terms, I'm basically suggesting in terms of newspapers what you can start with, the Hindustan Times, rather than, let's say, straight away going to the NYT or the Guardian, right? You can start with this. Then apart from this, easy articles. It's actually, you know, every platform has a mix of articles. Some are easy, some are difficult. You have to sift through them. Or easy. I'll have to search. I'll search and then tell you that what can be one place where you find some easy articles only, because every platform has a mix of them, right? Okay. Some pointers to remember before I leave today. See, excelling in VRC, I've already told you, it's very different from being good at English, right? So don't think that if you're not good at English, you'll not be good at VRC also. It does not work like that. VRC is a lot about logic. If you're good at logic, okay, then you'll be good at VRC as well. Sorry, this got repeated. Consistency matters. Okay, so if you're not consistent with BRC, you'll not get these kinds of results. Even today, if I stop reading for 1 year, no, my efficiency level, my effectiveness in reading will also fall. So it's consistency throughout your life in reading is what is required. And as managers, you will be required to read a lot. Trust me. Okay, there's a learning curve to some question types, particularly the inference questions, the conclusion questions, the main idea questions, right? Initially, you might get a lot of them incorrect. So don't worry about it. अगर अभी initially गलती हो रही है, incorrect हो रहा है, don't worry about it. There is a learning curve to them. Okay, you learn gradually how to eliminate. So don't get demoralized, demotivated. Work on your concepts. And lastly, practice. Okay, so practicing within a time constraint will make you perfect. Solving is an integral part. Okay, I haven't focused a lot on solving today because we are in the beginning currently. But if you just keep on reading without practicing, it's like the other wheel, right? If you can't run a bicycle on just one wheel, so practicing is the other wheel. So, and that too within a time constraint. That is what will make you the best, and that is what will make you score a 99 percentile plus in BARC. Okay. Oh my God, what has happened? I just saw the chat box. Uh, which rank is this? Which rank are you talking about? This is a CAT session. Anyway, uh, we have, I think today's 24th, right? So no, this is no longer relevant. We have a last lap to ZAT today. I'll see you at 7 p.m. and we'll practice some ZAT vocabulary questions, vocabulary and grammar both actually. So in case you want to hone your vocab and grammar right from now, you can join me at 7 p.m. today. Then this is our CAT 23 program, right? We offer a lot here. We offer live sessions, recorded lectures. We have a lot of mock tests, practice tests, so no dearth of material, something that you've been asking me, right? We also prepare you for stage 2, right? So PI, WATs, GDs, everything, right? So you can consider enrolling. And this is how we can stay connected. Facebook, Instagram, Telegram. I told you to like and follow relevant pages. Well, these are relevant pages. You can download our app also for more such informative sessions, right? We conduct sessions there as well. All right, then. This is it from my end. I'm repeating CAT. Should I start with EON essays? Rahul, in case you've had an experience with EON and you are able to comprehend 50%, even if you're able to comprehend 50% of them, by all means continue with them. Okay, EON has a very rich variety of articles and they will help you for your RC passages, right? But do refer to other sources also. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket. बस एक ही source से नहीं पढ़ना है हमें, right? Welcome, Harshad. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Welcome, all of you. See you in the evening. Bye.